Hey folks, Cody Jones here talking with you, and I'd like to share with you one of the little baits that I've kind of stumbled upon while I've been down here and figured out that just really works for the fish down here. And actually, I got to give credit to one of my buddies that I fish with here on the team, Garrett Seagraves. He's an absolute, he's a really good stick with this kind of bait, and he's the one who turned me on to it. So here it is. This is the Strike King Bitsy bug. Basically, it's just a finesse jig. But I was using this on Lake Dardanelle a few weeks ago at a Boat US event, and I was just catching a lot of fish with it. This is how I caught all my fish in that event, made the top 10. And you know, I've just really fallen in love with this style of fishing. It's just a finesse jig. It's a really light jig, and I'll walk you through a little bit of what I'm doing with this jig and how Garrett's kind of showed me how to fish this thing. But this is the Strike King Bitsy bug. You know, I put a different color skirt on there just because I like more of a natural color. But this is the Strike King Bitsy flip. I like the Bitsy flip because it's got a big heavy hook on it and it's really sharp. But that big heavy hook, say if you're throwing this thing in brush or something that you really need to stick a really big fish with, that hook isn't going to bend on you, whereas you know some kind of other light wire hook would. So I like to have that big hook, and the hook's very sharp, so I don't have to worry about having the big hook and not sticking fish. But I like that. I like this jig. Again, you got to stay really light with these finesse jigs. That's what this whole thing is about. You want to go light. This is a 1/4 ounce, so that's what I generally stick with. Excuse me. I like green pumpkin. You know, more of the natural colors. This is going to be a slow moving bait. So you want natural, you want light. And then what I fish this jig with is just a plain old double tail, and I'll show you. This is the jig that I throw. Like I said, it's just a Bitsy bug. I always change the skirt out just for color. I'm a stickler on color, but I like throwing that little double tail. It just fits that bait just perfectly. It's not too big, it's not too small. It really does match the bait really well. But with jig fishing, a lot of guys go with heavy line. I don't. I'm used to fishing football jigs with spider grubs on the back of them, back home in the Northwest for smallmouth, and I always go with like 12-pound test when I'm doing that. So I moved up to 14 because I do throw this thing in brush, but it works just like a football jig. If you guys are in the Northwest, you throw that kind of thing for smallmouth. It's basically the same kind of pattern. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find rock walls and jetties. This is what I was doing at Lake Dardanelle, is I was finding little wing dams. And I was crawling this jig over the rocks. And what I mean is I'm just basically dragging it with the rod tip. I'm just pulling it really lightly over top of those rocks. But 14-pound Vicious Elite Fluorocarbon. And the rod that I'm using right now is this is a really key aspect to this whole finesse deal. You need a very good quality rod so you can feel what you're doing with the really light baits going really slow. This is Gary Loomis's new company, Edge Rods. This is a 7-foot medium heavy action. This is the Mag Bass series. It's really light, and it performs very well with the finesse and the light tackle. I can feel pretty much every little rock, every bump on it. So that's my setup. And you know, some of the places you fish it, rocks. I always like fishing rocks with this style of bait. You know, also brush on docks and something something of that style. You're not going to fish it with grass. It's more of a really light, open kind of cover fishing lure. But that's a little bit of my finesse jig tactic. I hope you guys back home and whoever else is watching this can take something from that, and hope you learned something. So thank you. Stay tuned.